Good evening, it's Freddy Vazquez with Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, ghost guns. Good evening, folks. It's Freddy Vazquez with Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, ghost guns. What are they? And how are they impacting us here in the city of Yonkers? Good evening, folks. I'm Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, I want to talk about guns. Guns. It's a big. Good evening, folks. Tonight, I wanted to talk about guns. It's all in the news now, right? And you're hearing about the 4th of July parade shooting in Chicago, Highland Park in Chicago. 6 people were killed. So the gun control debate is back in the media. It's back in the news, if it never left. And I just want to say, and I don't know if any of you heard about this. Apparently, there was a young boy who was orphaned. Both his parents were killed in the shooting there in Chicago on the 4th. And and people started to raise money for him and donate. And they raised $2 million for the little boy there who was orphaned, unfortunately, on 4th of July. Both parents were shot. So I just wanted to mention that for $2 million. So yeah, what are ghost guns, right? Have you heard of ghost guns? I just recently learned about these things. They're dangerous. And I learned about them recently with the arrest on Riverdale Avenue about 6 days ago. I don't know if you heard about that over there in 85 Riverdale. On June 24th, maybe longer than that, June 24th, 2022, detectives arrested Jose Gregory Olivio Feliz, 27 of Yonkers, Pedro Jr. Olivio Feliz, 21 of Yonkers, and Idanis Laura Espinil, 30 of Washington, D.C. in connection with this investigation. During the arrest, Natalie A. Pena Camilo, 25 of Washington, D.C., allegedly fled from arresting officers, but was later located in Washington, D.C. and apprehended on June 29th, right, by members of the investigative team with the assistance of the FBI. So they recovered 31 guns. The joint investigation resulted in the seizure of 2 conventional firearms and 31 ghost guns. 2 conventional firearms and 31 ghost guns. Right. And that's a big problem because we're talking about gun control. Right. That's the thing. We need more gun control. People are getting killed and you're having mass shootings. But no one's really talking about these ghost guns, which can easily be purchased online. And there is no regulation. According to National Public Radio report, so-called ghost guns refer to privately assembled and untraceable firearms. Parties assemble these guns from buy, build, shoot kits from a collection of parts or from 3D printing technology. You can just print your guns now. This results in a firearm that does not have a serial number and eludes the ability of authorities to trace. Anyone can buy these guns if they know a source. The ghost guns do not require a background check, right? And that's the big debate about gun control. We need more background checks, better background checks, making them an attractive opportunity for people who cannot legally buy a gun due to age or criminal conviction. Reports indicate that more and more of these type of weapons become available each year. Law enforcement recovered about 20,000 of them. And again, police officers making the arrest on Riverdale Avenue recovered 31 ghost guns that had been assembled in Washington, D.C. and then trafficked up here to Yonkers. And they were recovered there on 85 Riverdale. So rules of regulation of ghost guns. A recent rule submitted to Federal Register by the Department of Justice seeks to slow down the spread of these guns. While the new rule does not ban these guns or impose new penalties, it does try to bring these weapons under the same rules as traditional guns. I don't understand, why aren't they just banning them? And I'm a gun advocate, right? Like I support the Second Amendment, but I don't agree with these type of guns. You know, they're untraceable. Anyone can build them, put them together. They're assembled. You can buy the parts. All right. Ghost guns undermine gun laws. Again, they undermine gun laws, and then they're used to commit crimes or murders, and then all guns get a bad rap, right? So people who are pro Second Amendment, who are legal gun owners, now they have to suffer as a result of these ghost guns that are being, readily available online. You do not need a background check to purchase a ghost gun kit or parts, which allows prohibited and dangerous individuals to evade federal or state gun regulation. The availability of ghost gun parts and kits is creating a gaping and dangerous loophole that undermines currently enacted gun-related regulations. So 31 guns out of all the guns they found, only 2 were conventional here in Yonkers. And any one of those 31 could have been used in a homicide. And people wouldn't be speaking about ghost guns necessarily. They'll just be talking about guns in general, right? And not realizing that this is a gun that was bought in pieces, put together by criminals, and then sold with no serial numbers, right? And no regulation, obviously no background check. So here, the picture I just want to show you is what a kit looks like. A ghost gun kit purchased for $400 cash at a California gun show. No background check, no bill of sale, right? That's crazy. That's absolutely insane. The kit includes every part needed to make a Glock type of handgun. The unfinished frame is packaged inside the jig, which functions to provide a pattern for drilling holes to make it a finished frame. All that is needed is a hand drill or a drill press, although the drill bits are provided for ease. Like, I mean, they basically say, here you go, criminals, make your own guns. If you can't buy them legally, go ahead and make them. The process of converting these parts into ghost guns involves just a few steps and can be completed without any specialized skills. And that's bad, right? Because anyone can do it. Doesn't need any kind of talent or intelligence. And that's what they look like there. Those actually look like Glocks. They actually really do. Wow. And it looks like they're just being mass produced. And so that's very dangerous. So this is something as a, Second Amendment guy, and who supports the right to have, a legal gun, am opposing. This is not something I'm for. This is totally bad. I mean, you can just buy pieces of guns, have them shipped to you and put it together. And now you got a gun, and then you can go commit a murder and it's not traceable. That's bad. I don't know why they just haven't banned this altogether, right? The way they cancel people online if you say something that they don't like. Why don't they cancel this, right? Right. Wouldn't be surprised if the government's behind them. Yeah, I mean, not to be conspiracy theorists, but it would make sense so that way you can increase the gun violence, right? And then have a case even more so for the elimination of guns, because ultimately, I don't see how more gun control, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, is going to really help. I mean, ultimately, really, if you just want to stop it, then the only answer I think is just to do away with guns completely. But I don't know if many people want that. I know I don't want that. So yeah, I don't know what is the answer. More gun controls. Anyway, so again, if you're just joining, these are ghost guns, which are guns that you can buy in pieces online. They don't have serial numbers, untraceable. You don't need a background check or anything. You can buy them, assemble them yourself, and then you have yourself a real gun that can kill someone, right? That can really, really, really kill someone. The unfinished receivers were rubber banded. The other parts to show how near to complete these guns are. Potential purchasers can see and feel exactly what their gun will look like once they have put it together. Because the receivers are unfinished and unregulated, these kits can be purchased at gun shows without background checks or any identification, right? This is true even in states that have diligently closed the gun show loophole by mandating universal background checks for all purchases or sale of firearms. So that's just dangerous to me. And this is a website here I want to show that you can go and you can buy, a ghost gun. And they have, look at all the different types. You got Uzis and 45 and AK-47s, ghost guns for sale online, right? This is crazy. You can buy with Bitcoin, use handguns for sale. So it's just that easy, right? And I don't want you guys going out and buying one of these ghost guns, right? And then blaming Freddy and say, look, Freddy encouraged me. He showed me where to go. He's a part of it. Right. I'm just telling you that this exists. These are websites where you can buy these ghost guns, where you could buy the kits. Right. It's like put together Lego, and then you have a real gun and you can kill somebody. And then, real legal gun owners, the legal citizens that are not out there going to mass murder people, but do want to have a gun, we the ones that suffer. Like anything else, right? It's always the innocent people that suffer, right? The terrorists want to go and blow things up. Now we have to wait these long lines at the airports to go through all these crazy, screenings and stuff. Your shoes, your underwears have to come off and all that. So we always suffer, right? So here's another about guns. What is a ghost gun, and what is New York doing about them? What is New York doing about ghost guns, right? Legislators in New York took steps this week to put an end to ghost guns. What exactly is a ghost gun? I already told you what it does. I just want to talk about the legislator. According to New York New York Senate, before this legislation was passed, there was something called the unfinished receiver loophole that would allow people to buy the parts they needed to build an untraceable, unregistered gun without ever going through a background check. With gun violence surging across the country, now is the time to take action to close these loopholes, and it's true. So the bill that they passed is called the Scott J. Beagle Unfinished Receiver Act, and is named after Scott Beagle, who was a teacher that gave his life protecting his students during the attack on Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. I believe it's the high school in Florida. I forgot what the place in Florida is called. There was a second bill that also passed called the Jose Webster Untraceable Firearms Act. So what does the bill do? The bill aims to ban the sale and possession of ghost guns and ensure law enforcement has the necessary tools to track the manufacture and sale of all guns in New York. Right? This is important, especially if you are someone who is the victim of gun violence, family members, and has been fighting. I know, I've spoken with some family members of people who've been affected by gun violence. And this is something that we were speaking about also as well. And, I'm just learning about these ghost gun stuff, right? The Scott J. Beagle Unfinished Receiver Act defines what constitutes an unfinished frame or receiver, makes it illegal to possess one, prohibits the possession of major components of a firearm. So basically, you can't have the pieces to put together. They have to have a serial number. So you can't just buy pieces without serial numbers as you can now, as it stands now. So that's what New York is doing. And New York is actually suing several companies that manufacture and sell these gun kits. So that's another thing they announced recently. New York and other states actually have gotten together to sue them. So I want to talk about gun control, though, right? Again, this is not a Republican thing. I know a lot of Democrats that, are in favor of the Second Amendment, and they always seem like, oh, it's a Republican thing. It's not. It's an American thing, right? And so, I talk to people about this, who are on the side of more gun control, and especially after what's been happening in the media, the mass shooting on the 4th of July, people really out on Facebook, post and memes and stuff. We need more gun control. But what does that mean? I always say, what do you mean? Because there are gun control, there are background checks already in place. Some of the cities that are experiencing this high gun violence have some of the strictest gun laws in the country. Right. So President Biden, Joe Biden, signed a bill into law that provides federal grants. Right. So they just want to spend money. This is what this is about. Let's draft legislation and pass a bill to spend more money that we don't have in this country. So the Federal Reserve would just go and print it and then put us into more debt. That's really what so he signs a bill, right, to provide federal grants to incentivize states to pass red flag laws, enhance background checks to include juvenile records for gun buyers under age of 21, offers more funding for mental health programs and school security, and closes the boyfriend loophole by keeping guns out of the hands of unmarried dating partners who have been convicted of abuse. Now, I don't understand how that's going. What is that going to do? What is that doing? Right? That doesn't even make sense. It's just, to me, it's more spending. Right? I like that he wants to include more money for mental health programs, which I think is great, but he needs to identify, right, exactly how is that money going to be allocated? What programs? What are these programs doing? How are they, helping to curb, gun violence? And obviously, by them, putting this in the bill, they are in a way admitting, somewhat that mental health has a factor in these mass shootings. Right, but they only talk about the gun control. Right, they don't break it down. This is what I want to always point out on my podcast. I like to break things down. You can't just, read the tagline and think you know all about the issue and then just go gun ho and passionately debating people on Facebook, right? And that's no disrespect to nobody. I'm just saying that some people are really passionate to the point where they go into insults, but they never go into, tangible facts or evidence and, to support their point. And here's what I'm saying. Mental health obviously plays a role, right? And this is what Joe Biden is saying by including money for mental health programs. So why isn't that something that is, mentioned just as much as gun control? Oh, there's too many guns in the hands of people. No, well, there's a huge mental health problem in this country, especially after the pandemic. People are very depressed and miserable. People have lost everything. Some people lost their businesses. Like a lot of small businesses went under. One minute you're doing good. You're on top of the world. You got your business going. You're rocking and rolling. You might have a, nice boat that you just bought, taking it out on the lake. And next thing you know, everything is shut down. Can't take your boat on the lake. And now your business is closed. Now you got to sell the boat. So, for a sane person, they might want to go out and shoot some people, right? Who they believe that this is all, but they're not going to do it. But then there's those people that have some, not all people with mental health, I'm saying, but there's some, and they will go and do it. And they will go and do it. And that's, I think, what's happening a lot here. So we need to focus on the mental health component more so than trying to just take guns away from people, because the majority of people that have guns are not doing this. That's a fact. They're not the ones that are, going out and committing these atrocities, and my condolences go out to the victims. It's tragic. So, but I'm glad that they said that. So I want to highlight that. And then money for school security. I guess that's good. But again, it then trickles down to, right, the school districts, and where does that money go? Right? Where did that money really go? So does it go to security? I was recently reading some comments on the from the Yonkers Tribune over the Edwin Casada article, and people were complaining or criticizing, not a lot, but there was some criticism of the security in the schools here in the Yonkers public schools, and that it wasn't good and it needed to improve. And the article was about a request supposedly that the mayor had for an analysis of the Yonkers public schools security. I guess how their protocols were. If they were doing well or whatever. They had, so and he supposedly, apparently, allegedly, Dr. Edwin Casada refused to provide an analysis, which I don't understand why he would do that. But I've been to the schools. I didn't see any real issues, maybe. And again, I don't want to, dismiss anyone's, real concerns. If they are there, we definitely need to address that. Absolutely. So they're allocating more money for that. I'm not sure what the boyfriend loophole by keeping guns out of the hands of unmarried dating partners who have been convicted of abuse. I have to read up more about that. But basically, nothing really else is happening. So when people debate, if you're someone out there and you're watching, at some point, and you're someone that's pro more gun rights, we need more gun restrictions, I want to ask you, what do you mean by that exactly? Right. And you see what Joe Biden is passing, right? He wants to give grant money to states to incentivize them, and they will, some, just to get that money, right? And they'll do all these crazy things. The guns are not the problem. Depravity of life is the problem, and mental illness. Guns haven't changed in 50 years, but society has. That's very true. I agree with that. Most anti-Second Amendment right folks are clueless to guns, ownership, functionality, and safety. Ignorance is an overall problem, and ignorance comes in all colors. I agree with that as well. Yes, a lack of education. And that's what I mean by saying that I want to break it down in that way, by showing what is being, presented by Joe Biden here to trying to curb the mass shootings or the gun violence, right? Well, he's providing funding for mental health. Hello, maybe we do need to speak about that, because many people, as you say, the anti-Second Amendment folks, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear the mental health thing. Oh, you're saying that people who suffer mental health are going to kill people? No, that's a straw man. I can't stand when people make straw man arguments. No, it's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the individuals that committed this act were suffering from some mental health, issues, and they needed to be addressed, and they weren't. It's for some reason it was not identified, right? So we need to speak about that more, right? Because if we really want to solve problems, we actually have to identify the real problems, right? And then find real solutions. We can't just, say what we think is the problem and what we think might be the solution. No, we have to identify it. And we do that by, you know, data, research. So, that's what I want. And I don't want to sound again like a Republican because people say, oh, you're a Republican. And it's not about party. It's just about sensibility, right? Common sense, right? There's 300 million people in this country and a lot of guns. I believe about 300 million guns out there. And so if gun violence, if guns was truly like a real problem, I'm just saying, do you know how many more people would be dead? I mean, it's a fact that fentanyl is a bigger problem than guns. And I know that when you're presented with, the situation that happened, the incident that happened in Chicago on July 4th, you have to understand how it's packaged by the media. The child that was orphaned, they raised $2 million for the child. God bless him. God bless him. But I was saying to people, you know how many children are orphaned for, various reasons, and parents may have been killed too, but it's not working for the narrative of the gun control debate, right? So they don't even speak about it, but there are orphans out there because their parents were killed by someone for some reason, or maybe a drunk driver, or maybe a fentanyl overdose. The parents went out and got high and died, leaving the kids. Because I've seen literally videos of parents overdosed in the front seat while their child was in the back in a car seat, right? And those kids never received $2 million. No one ever really cared about them. And I'm just not trying to sound cold, but it's just the truth, right? No one reached out to them and donated anything because the media didn't package it and present it to you guys that way. Had it done so, maybe because that would have motivated your heartstrings, right? You have to understand what they do. So that's what they really pull from people, the media. So we have to be careful. We have to just back up and see what's going on and say, really, what is the issue? What truly is the problem? If we want to solve it. Otherwise, we're just going to keep debating for the rest of eternity, right? And people are still going to be dying. And also, I was talking to someone about copycats. Does the media give too much attention to these mass shooters? They blast their face all over the media, for I don't know how many days straight. They talk about them and talk about them, right? So, some people, you may have some mental health, and have this thing of, I can be famous. I can leave this planet, right? And they'll know me forever, right? That's I'm just saying, the thinking of maybe. And then so that's how they're going to go out, like in a blaze of glory type of thing in their mind, right? So maybe they shouldn't highlight them so much. Stop blasting their face. Stop talking about it so much because, there's something to the fact that you have one mass shooting and then you blast it all over. And all of a sudden you had this whole cluster of mass shootings that happened in a short amount of time. Even as far as Denmark, there was recently a mass shooting there just last week, right? So, is that now, and to those who say, oh, no other country has mass shooting, only America or Denmark, it just did. So, we have to think about that. Stop giving them so much attention. I think that encourages other individuals who may be, not in the right state of mind already to maybe decide that that's what they're going to do, right? And then they go ahead and do it, and then there we go again. It's the guns. Glad you mentioned fentanyl because it's a way bigger epidemic than guns. There are 10 times. Yeah, and I talked about this about 100, almost about this. I want to be honest, right? 96,700, according to a an article I was reading, people die of roughly around that a year from overdose, specifically opioid, that's fentanyl, prescription drugs. And we have to blame the pharmaceutical companies. When they first put these prescription drugs out, they said people are not going to get addicted. That's what they said. but you're making them with the poppy seeds that people made heroin with. I mean, you really, that's a lie. They knew that when people were going to get addicted, they knew that, and they kept pumping them out. I had a urologist. I had kidney stones. I had that for many years. Oh my God, so bad. And so he would just give me, and this was before it was even being talked about like that, but he would just give me the pain, the thing. And after a while, it's true. You like, one doesn't do it anymore. Right. So then you end up taking two. So, if you just continue doing that, and then you have a urologist like I had, I told him not to give me anymore. I said, I don't want these anymore because they're not taking away the pain. And if I have to keep taking more, I don't want to, be dependent on them. He said, oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. That's what he said to me, right? Instead of saying to me as the doctor, hey, maybe we should do something else. So, he gave me some non-narcotic stuff, which didn't work out either. And I dealt with the pain until I actually passed the stone. And I just passed another one recently, not too, it was a TMI, but that stuff is painful. It's very painful. But yeah, so these doctors, they pump people with this stuff, and especially in the very beginning they were doing that. You had the pill mills, and they got so many people addicted because why? They were making money with the pharmaceutical companies. It was a commission thing, right? You have these guys that work for pharmaceutical companies that go to doctors and they solicit them with different medications. And they give them samples and stuff. You ever got samples? You go to a doctor and they'll give you these little samples. Here, try this, try this. That's samples that they get. So it's all about money, right? It's all about money. 10 times more deaths than drugs and guns. We need to start focusing. Right. And that also leads to a lot of problems, right? So when you have drug addiction, like we spoke about the young boy that was orphaned because his parents were killed in Chicago in the shooting, right? You have orphaned children because their parents also overdose from drugs, fentanyl. Again, if you can stomach it, check out on YouTube Kensington Avenue in Philadelphia, and you'll see how bad it is. People just line the streets there, strung out, using drugs, buying drugs, selling drugs. It's bad. It's America, and it's bad, right? So you have parents out there, they die, they leave their kids orphaned. Right. So that leads to now a child that's in the foster care system, increasing the already, crazy number of children that are in the foster care system. That child has, unfortunately, just be honest. Okay. Unfortunately, because I know the odds that I had. I don't know how the hell I am here. Okay. Like that's God all the way. That's why I have to believe in God. That child has, a snowball's chance in hell, like I did, to be successful at that point. So now you have this cycle that's going to continue to the next generation, because more than likely, and it's just an unfortunate truth, that child may have issues because he grew up in the foster care system, and there's horror stories within that of child abuse and sexual abuse and stuff with children. So who knows what that child or those children will go through. So it's a cycle, right? The drug addiction. So we stop there. We could clean up parents. Parents could be there for their kids. Or we talk about abortion. People getting addicted to drugs, they therefore then, right, solicit their bodies for money in order to purchase drugs. And then they get pregnant, and then they have to have an abortion because they don't know who the father is. Right. So it's a web of problems that drug addiction and these opioids and fentanyl create. Yet we focus very, narrow-mindedly on gun control. And that's all I say to people. I don't mean sound, any type of way, any rude or disrespectful to anyone. Sometimes it just is very frustrating, folks. 'Cause I care. I don't care about either side. I care about, just getting a solution to the real problem that we have here in America, here in Yonkers, because I see it in Yonkers. I see it. It's bad. It's bad. We cannot speak about it, but it's there. Right. You're more likely to die at the hands of your doctor than a gun. Yeah, that you're talking about the abortion thing. Unfortunately, for a Hispanic and Black child, that is very true. You're more likely to die by a doctor in an abortion situation or, in a gun situation. It's just a high rate for, Hispanics, people, my people that come from where we come from, in impoverished neighborhoods where there's high rate of crime. So it's very bad. But also another statistic that's interesting is that you're more likely to be killed by someone you know. That's just a fact. The probabilities of you being killed in a random situation like a mass shooting is very rare. It's very rare. Most people are killed by someone they know or someone that they are connected to in some form or fashion. So you need to worry about the people around you who may own a gun, right? So, somebody around you owns a gun, maybe you got to figure out, then, did I screw over my cousin or my friend? You know, so that's just a fact, So, we have to think about that before we go jumping off the rails, and saying, oh, gun control, this, that, and the third, because this is, I think, as someone said, is a plan. It's a strategic plan because it's more. I mean, do you guys know what's happening in Canada? I mean, this is truly happening in Canada where people are restricted from going to one province to another. I think is what they call them. They're literally restricted. They can't go across. That's like a bridge. There'll be a bridge that'll separate them, and they can't. They're restricted. Their movement has been restricted. Trudeau is a monster. Trudeau has been through the World Economic Forum's, school of Klaus Schwab's and indoctrinated very heavily in that belief. And if you don't know anything about the World Economic Forum, take a look at them because they are the ones that are shaping our economic future, which is a global, globally connected, you know, sovereign nations will disappear. Individual sovereign nations, right? Your individual sovereignty will disappear and it will be a global government, global world. That's what they're pushing for, right? So Trudeau and a lot of many other leaders like Merkel of Germany and, like I was saying, Macron of France have gone through this guy's whole schooling and they're pushing for this, right? So this guy, is getting away with it because Canada is not like America. Because in America, if they try to do that, it's going to be some real problems, especially because we do have so many guns in the hands of the citizens. And that is one of the biggest threats that we pose to, any type of true tyranny, martial law clamping down. But they are slowly working toward that. And by they're doing that by, kind of just, I don't want to say the words, I don't want to, by misinforming, better way of putting it, misinforming people on issues so that they, have a set of beliefs that align with their beliefs, the government's beliefs, right? Which is to remove, guns from people. And the thing is, they want to remove the rifles, the long guns. But the reality is that the majority of gun violence is committed by handguns, not long guns. Yes, you have these incidences where you have the mass shootings where it was meaning a rifle, a long gun, but the majority of people because people are getting shot every day and killed every day by guns, just not every, but most of it is suicides actually, but it's a handgun, right? So it's not but they want to ban the rifle. Let's ban the rifle. Why? Think about that, right? Because if you're going to go to war, you don't just go to war with a handgun. You have to have a rifle, right? So they're anticipating a war, the government. So what do? They remove the rifles first, right? And handguns, there's already a lot of restrictions on handguns as it is. You can get a shotgun legally here in New York, right? With if if you're like me, no records, no nothing, no bad stuff. You can do it in 30 minutes. I got a shotgun in 30 minutes, right? So unlike a handgun, that's a much different story. It's more difficult if you can even get one. Pharmaceutical companies are directly responsible for most of America's problems, including shootings, overdose, abortions. Uh, Regardless of party, we need to admit the problem and come together to address the real issue, especially mental illness and addiction. Yeah, 1000%. And that's my hope. That's like my goal, really. Like my goal is to just say, forget about parties, right? Because I call myself a conservative Democrat, so that way I can like hug both you guys. You know what I mean? I can hug the Republicans and the Democrats and say, come on, we need to like do this together because when we come together, we are Americans. We're not Republican, we're not Democrats, right? And they're trying to divide us. They're using everything with the gun control, racism. All Republicans are not racist, okay? And all Republicans are not white. I know a lot of Dominican Republicans, right? I know Dominican Republicans. I know Cuban Republicans. I know Puerto Rican Republicans. I know Black Republicans. They're not just white supremacists. right? Or right, and they use these buzzwords or terms: white supremacists, white nationalists, and I'm not defending them. I'm trying to give you facts, right? There's a lot of people that are not white that are Republicans, and what I find in my experiences anyway is that a lot of the people, minorities that are Republicans, tend to be business owners, right? People who feel like you gotta pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? And I don't agree with that all the way, although I understood that you had to do that. But I also understand that there are a lot of obstacles, and certain people, some people are just born at the bottom, you know what I mean? It's like, just to get to par is a miracle. And if you're there, then just be lucky. You know what I'm saying? So let alone to achieve even more, right? So I don't agree with that. And I do agree that there needs to be some kind of support, especially because the government, I think, is partly responsible for a lot of reasons why people are living in shit to begin with, and they're very wealthy, who don't really care. For the most part. So yeah, so it's not about a party. So that's what I'm saying. We need to come together, especially now more than ever. We can't forget about, like, Roe versus Wade. I don't get it. That doesn't affect a lot of us. It doesn't affect most people. Doesn't, it's something that, but it's a small percentage. I mean, how many people are getting abortions? And I know you have those rare instances where they talked about the 10-year-old girl who had to go across state lines recently, right? And that is sad. But you know what's more sad? That the 10-year-old girl got pregnant in the first place. What happened there? I want to talk about that before we even get to the abortion, and that she had to cross the state lines. See, we don't talk about that. It's called nipping it in the bud. You ever heard that term? Nip it in the bud. Let's not be reactive, which is an abortion is a reactive approach. Let's be proactive, right? Let's nip it in the bud, because that little girl is going to go through a traumatic experience no matter what. Okay. And she's not going to have the baby, but she's still going to remember that. And she's still going to think about that. And she still had to go through that. So forget the abortion and all that. Well, let's stop the baby from going through that, and what happened there. Because they talked so much about the fact that she had to cross state lines that I didn't even know what happened. Why she get pregnant in the first place? Like, nobody cared about that. They just cared that she couldn't get the abortion right there. I just, where's our minds at? Where our minds stay, like, as a country, it's not good. We should help build ourselves, each other, so that we don't have to have abortions. We can raise the babies that we have, and we do it in a responsible manner. And yes, there are rare cases when someone is raped and this, that, and the third. I get that. I'm not talking about that, excluding that, which is not the majority of abortions. It's not. It's just people made a mistake. It's unfortunate, So, but again, everybody has the right to do whatever the hell they want. That's what I believe in. I'm nobody to tell you, as long as you don't impede on my rights and what the hell I'm doing. I don't care what you're doing. That's your business. I can just tell you that, in my opinion, I don't necessarily agree with it, but who the hell cares what I think at the end of the day, right? Do what you want to do, right? But I'm just saying, let's be proactive, and let's nip things in the bud. Let's not, rely on abortions. Just like, let's not rely on people getting arrested, right? To hopefully have them change their lives around. Let's, be there before they get arrested, right? Let's be before these kids get into trouble and get arrested and have records, and now it's more difficult to proceed in life because they have all this baggage that's now tied to them, chained to them. They can't ever let it go, right? So that's all I'm saying. But I just wanted to talk about this ghost gun stuff, because if you didn't know, just join me. Ghost guns are guns that basically you put together. You can order the parts online, and then you can assemble them yourself. This is one of the websites there that you can go to, and they come without a serial number, so they're untraceable, they're unregulated, and so they're popular among those who are not going to pass a background check, or do not want to buy a gun the traditional way for whatever reason. And that poses a danger to our society. And that poses a threat to those who want to have the right to bear arms. Because guns like that will reflect on all guns, right? All legal. And again, just recently, the arrest on 85 Riverdale by Yonkers Police, DEA, and other law enforcement agencies netted 31 of these ghost guns, right? Out of all the guns they got, only 2 of them were conventional guns 31 with ghost guns. So that's dangerous. So I just wanted to talk about that. And hopefully, they will put an end to this, through regulations and just make it illegal. I'm not sure why they say it's all, but here in New York, they're getting really strict on it. You can't buy them. They have to have now serial numbers and stuff like that. They're actually suing companies and manufacturers for the ghost guns that have made their way up here to New York and to Yonkers especially. Right? And they're dangerous. And they shoot and kill just like any other gun you would buy anywhere else. So ghost guns are dangerous. Also, I want to talk about gun control just a little bit because now that's in the, because of the shooting recently in Chicago. Everybody's all gun control, gun control, gun control. That's the only two words. I need more. What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Right? And guys on Facebook, please stop being so divisive. Posting memes about how much better the Democratic Party, and I only seem to see that from Democrats, man. As a Democrat to another Democrat that's doing that, why? Why are you posting memes about how much better the Democrats are, and you don't really give any real facts. It's just a bunch of kind of like opinion-y type of stuff, and then so much hating about Trump. Like, let it go. Trump is not president no more. Forget the guy. We got to think about the real issues that's happening. This inflation might be heading to 10% on its way to 9%. What does that mean? That means that you're going to have to come out of pocket more for, cold cuts at the grocery store. You know how much gas is? I paid, I don't even know. It was so much money. Oh, 601 today I paid. Right? So we have these bigger fish to fry. Let's focus on these issues because they impact us all. And let's not fight over the issues that impact a small percentage of the population. Most of us fighting over these issues won't even be impacted by them. I'm Freddy Vazquez. I'm up out of here. Happy hump day. Tomorrow's Thursday. And Friday. 2 more days in the weekend. How about that? Anyway, folks, if you missed yesterday's episode, I talked about the Tasha Diaz incident. Allegedly, she beat up an elderly man, a man who was dating her mom, over some personal issues inside the building where she resides at over there at Jefferson Towers. I was there yesterday reporting on it, and she happened to walk out. I did ask her if the allegations were true. She denied them, of course. I didn't press her any more than that. I hear police are investigating according to sources. I've been hearing this from multiple sources now. I think some people think it was a certain individual that told me this. No, I hear this from a lot of different people, right? But I'm not going to give up my sources anyway. Just know that a lot of people know and a lot of people are talking, okay? So figure it out. Get it together. I am Mike Diaz. I'm Freddy Vazquez. I am up out of here. Good night. It's time for me to go to bed. I got a meeting tomorrow, I think. Peace out. I am Freddy Vazquez. That was your Basement Politics episode 4, July 6th, 2022. Ghost guns. We got to get these ghost guns off the streets because they only end up in the hands of the criminals, those that plan on committing some illegal activity like armed robbery or worse, possibly murder. So as a person who supports the Second Amendment rights, I am full support of banning these ghost guns, making them completely illegal. Go the traditional route. If you have nothing to worry about, buy the gun like everyone else. That's why the gun laws that are in place now are there to do the background checks. I'm Freddy Vazquez. Peace out. Peace and love, guys. Peace and love. Right on Facebook. Peace and love.
Freddy wins. Fatality.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddy Vazquez. You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddy Vazquez.
I was raised in housing. I was raised in housing.
What is that sweet spot?
We're going to leave it where it is. Let's vote on this. Let's get it popping. Like I said, political games that are being played.
Thank you for watching Basement Politics with my husband, Freddy Vazquez.
Freddy wins.
Thank you for watching.
Fatality.
I was raised in housing. I don't think you were.
Game over.
No!